Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today we are going to dive into the world of Cardano after the news that broke yesterday regarding smart contracts releasing on the ecosystem. We're going to get into the price action of ADA and what the expectations might just be here for Cardano. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit the like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and you will not miss another Cardano update. Right, with all this out of the way said, let's jump on down into the desktop, start taking a look at what is going on with Cardano, and take a look at the price action of ADA. Okay guys, so here we are, right? So basically the first thing we want to really talk about is the Cardano smart contracts, right? So they're due to arrive on the 12th of September. This was communicated out by Input Output Hong Kong, 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗦, IOG, and basically Charles Hoskinson also kind of communicated this live with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪 on the 13th of August. So this has been fantastic news. It's something that many people in the space have been waiting for some time, and it's good to finally see that this is actually happening and we've got a firm date in place. So this is going to be fantastic news, but obviously there's going to be effect to this, right? Ultimately, we're going to start seeing those 100 or so companies migrating from Ethereum over to Cardano because they are tired of running dodgy code in Solidity. Things are insecure, and also, you know, paying over the nose for using a poorer system, right? So they're looking to upgrade, they're looking to save money, and they're looking to upgrade the tech that they're on. This is exactly why you're seeing things like 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 moving over from Ethereum to Cardano, you're moving from Solidity to Haskell, and all that smart contract functionality that they've been messing around with on the testnet has been proven to be very, very good. So if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about Cardano's relationship with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, we are looking to drop the interview that we had with Dr. Ben Goertzel next week, so check that one out. For now, let's obviously dive into what's going on with ADA, right? But ultimately, smart contracts 12th, this is going to be fantastic. Obviously, anyone who was placing the bet to say that it wasn't going to arrive by the 1st of October, sorry to hear that you might actually lose that one. But for this, anyone else who was saying that, yes, it's more than likely going to actually occur, you're going to be obviously laughing your heads off a little bit. But this is fantastic news. We'll obviously see if it does actually happen on the 12th, but to put out a date like this, it's going to be hard to think that it isn't going to happen. So lots of hype now will be building up for the next few weeks. Obviously, we are only weeks away, right? But what does this mean for the price action of ADA, right? So obviously we get into the charts, we obviously have the technicals here. Obviously, the technicals have a lot of things in it, right? We have lots of hype, but we haven't actually got the actual information when it comes to the price of ADA. So what we want to do is take a look at what is going on when it comes to the price action. What are the expectations? In order to kind of get to this, there's something we also should obviously acknowledge, right? Which is that Binance Smart Chain also had smart contracts launch on the 1st of September 2020, right? We can see that here. The Binance Smart Chain launches today, and this was the 1st of September 2020. But what happened in terms of price discovery for BNB since the 1st of September 2020? Well, the price actually rose by over 2,500%, right? And if Cardano was to do the same thing, then actually that would put it up at a ridiculously high level. I don't think you're going to see 2,500% on Cardano, and that would actually put the price way up here at about $57 or so. I think though we are pretty comfortable to say that we should expect at least 1,000%, maybe a little bit more. It might actually push more towards that 1,500%, right? And what would that look like? Well, if you were to push 1,000%, that kind of puts it out there about $25. I think that's a pretty decent level. Now, obviously, it's outside of the technicals. It would require 100 or so companies to move from Ethereum over to Cardano, but would also require a load of new projects to be built upon the ecosystem. Utilizing ADA, launching their new coins on the ecosystem, things like Liquid Finance, Meld, all the launch pads that Chris has been talking about as well in the member section of the channel. So I think ultimately, yeah, 1,000% seems pretty interesting considering BNB shot up 2,500%. Now, obviously, the reason that we can't use a 2,500 is mainly because we've seen that we're in a bull run. We've seen a significant price increase across the entire space. To assume a 2,500% would be very unfair and very unrealistic. But 1,000% does put it at the higher end of my yellow lines here, these kind of price expectations or price predictions for ADA. Personally, the technical showing $7.20 to $10 was a nice comfortable range. And smart contracts, could be a catalyst for serious change in the space. And again, as I said previously, market capitalization doesn't actually cause an issue to price discovery. The only two things that do affect price discovery is the supply and ultimately, whether it is, if the demand is actually there, right? So what we need to see is basically the supply being kind of squeezed, and we need to see that the demand increasing, right? Which we're going to start seeing. We're going to see the demand increasing when we have more projects actually utilizing the system and the ecosystem as a whole. And you're also going to see the demand increase when new projects are building on the ecosystem and utilizing the smart contracts. The supply is going to get squeezed as people start to stake more ADA. And it is already the world's most decentralized ecosystem with the number of validators that it has going for it. So obviously by staking your ADA, you're earning a passive income. And there's a lot of people in this space who are long-term investors, such as myself, such as Chris, for example, who see that 2025, 2030 are key milestones for this entire crypto space. And you actually might want to be, staking significant portions of ADA for the long haul. And in doing so, you're actually going to be squeezing the supply even tighter as that demand increases. So the next few years for Cardano is going to be absolutely key. But will we actually push up 1,000% this particular cycle? I think it's ambitious, but it's nice to have a target. So that target would actually be about $25. And again, obviously, we'd have to address the technicals over time to see if this is likely to happen. So obviously, knowing that we have expectations, I will actually quickly mark this one up on the charts here as well. Let me just grab my horizontal ray here, and I'll mark this up just about here in this green line. So this basically does indicate $25 as a range. That's pretty much where I think the top it would ever be for this particular cycle. I'd like to be wrong, in that case, going up higher is going to be fantastic. I'd love to be wrong about that. But ultimately, my mind still sits. Let's see that $7.20 come in. Let's see that $10 get hit. And then let's address the situation. How far are we in the bull cycle? Are we slowing down? Are we picking up? All that kind of good stuff. In terms of this weekly chart that we're sat on right now, we can, of course, see that we are still just coming out of this oversold area. There's huge growth in this weekly chart still to happen according to the stochastic relative strength index. So huge amounts of growth yet to actually occur. And we've seen a significant growth already, right? We've taken out some key levels that I'm going to get into on the hourly chart in a moment. And these key levels are going to be basically pushing now for new price discovery if we get a weekly closed candle above this yellow box area that we've been talking about for a while. So on this weekly chart, things are looking very, very interesting. Good price expectations for the closing of Q3, Q4, and moving into 2022 with fantastic expectations of what is to lie ahead in 2025, 2030 as a long-term investor. Now, as we jump down into our daily chart, this is where things start to look a little bit more interesting, right? We obviously have the Fibonacci retracement tool. We have our yellow box area here, and obviously we have that $7.22 price expectation according to the Fibonacci. Now, the $10 range is just here, $15 and so forth, right? So we can go push it a little bit higher if we need to. Now, what's interesting about this is obviously the overbought area rather than oversold, like we've seen on many of these altcoins as well. Ultimately, we're oversold on the weekly, but overbought on the daily. Now, this is, again, just basically calling out that we need to see a correction. This is unsustainable growth, right? We're seeing growth for quite a number of days now, and what we need to do is actually start to see a sustainable kind of pullback, a nice healthy pullback in the space to allow us to continue the growth to the upside. So that's going to be one of the expectations that we need to see. Now, obviously, we are at this key level, right? We've just crossed over the 786 area of the Fibonacci retracement. This is a key bull area. Once we get the closed candle, preferably weekly, above this line, that is going to be a good strong signal to move further forward. But we obviously have to be mindful that we are overbought on this daily chart. At some point, we need to have a pullback. So we'd like to actually push a little bit higher, maybe to all-time high, back test on the 786, get the daily chart corrected so that we can then progress further forward once again. But a good signal is going to be here once we're above this yellow box area with that weekly close candle. If we close above this today, it should hopefully be a good signal as well, but it's the weekly that really matters to us. So that's really good and good to see. Now, if we actually jump down into our hourly, here we can see, again, another perspective on that stochastic relative strength index. Unlike the daily, we are actually oversold on the hourly, right? In line with the weekly. So we've got growth on the daily, we've got growth, on the hourly, and we've got growth on the weekly yet to happen. But our daily does need correcting. So until our hourly actually supports the correction of the daily, we're going to continue to see sideways trades and pushes to the upside. So for Cardano right now, resting right on top of the 786, I can see this thing really now pushing up a little bit higher. And it's really, really difficult for us to actually go back, if I can zoom right out, and find some of these additional resistances, because ultimately there are not that many over here. There's a few areas that we want to be mindful. We've already hit the $2.24 area, but we'll be mindful that there's one up here about $2.32. After that, there is very, very little. We're basically off to the races with new price discovery. So where we are right now, knowing that we are really low, if we actually throw the volumes on here as well, we can see that we've run out of momentum as we were correcting down. Like, this is exactly what you need to see, is basically a decreasing volume whilst you're in a correction just here. So this actually helps you basically correct your relative strength index, your stochastic, without doing too much price damage, right? So right now we can now grow that volume back to the upside. In growing that volume, we're going to get going for growth in the price discovery, right? So again, now we're looking to really push up towards that $2.32 area, and that's going to be your next kind of resistance line. You might actually get a bit of small pullback. Maybe we'll come back down to the previous area and we hold that. So for Cardano and ADA right now, everything's looking very, very good, right? We can continue this growth to the upside, but we are mindful that corrections and many corrections across the space are due. So we obviously have to be aware that at some point a nice healthy correction is going to happen. It might be really fast. It might just be a flash crash and then back up, and within 24 hours you're off again, right? And it might actually be something that takes maybe a month to kind of just go sideways for a while, just to correct that daily. We don't know what it looks like just yet, but what we do know is it is going to happen at some point. It's kind of natural, and profits will be taken at some point. So I have seen some people in the space talking about shorting, all of that kind of stuff, and I get it, but until our hourly is really aligned to what our thinking of our daily is, it's unlikely to occur. So we have to be mindful that there's a difference, right? There's basically the daily and the hourly, they're just not in consensus with each other. They are opposites right now. So until our hourly supports a decrease, I would not be worrying too much about it, but we are looking to push up. $2.30 seems a nice sensible area, so I'm going to be watching that one quite closely. In terms of all of this short-term stuff, for me as an investor, I always make sure that I do zoom out and pay attention to what is going on with the bigger picture, right? Because this is, as an investor, that matters most to me. I'm a dollar cost average kind of guy. I find the dips that are worth buying into, find those buy zones as we communicate with the members in the member section. And then ultimately from there, all we then do is basically hodl through any sideways trades, and we basically have an exit strategy, right? We have certain price points that we try to hit and we exit according to that. So as a long-term investor, it's always important that we have a good view of where things are going and don't get too drowned down and bogged down with the detail of those hourlies, those 15 minutes, those 5 minutes charts, because you're not going to find anything useful there for the long term, right? And that's basically more for trading. If you're a day trader, that's where you're going to hang out. But if you are a long-term investor, you're going to be really paying attention to what is going on with that monthly, what's going on with the weekly, and then what's going on with the daily. You won't generally go much lower than what is going on with the daily. So guys, hopefully you have found this brief update for Cardano useful and informative. If you have, then do go ahead and hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will not miss another Cardano update. Guys, with all this said, done, and out of the way, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.